We're talking with Alan Brain, director of the Rumba Kings, new movie that's just sort of it's not sort of it is a love letter to the earliest days of Congo and you know the sort of nascent growth of Congolese Rumba, and how that all came about and what it signified for the nation and everything. That's a beautiful film. It's going to be airing November 20th and 21st. That's what's scheduled for now at the Greenbelt Theater at part of the Utopia Film Festival. So Claude is representing the festival. So what can you tell us about how this fits into the festival and all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, the Utopia Film Festival is held annually in Greenbelt, Maryland. And this is our 17th year already, which is a pretty good record for film festivals. Many don't make it that long. And it's all volunteer based. We show documentaries, feature films, shorts, animation, and basically anything that helps to create a better world. That's where the name Utopia Film Festival comes. And I'm a fan of African music, and I've been following the Facebook page of the Rumba Kings for several years. It's been in the making for a long time, I think. And then I saw earlier this year that it's finally ready, and the American premiere was in Richmond earlier this year in September. So when I saw that, I was very excited. I wanted to see the movie, but wasn't able to travel to Richmond. And then I thought that's probably a lot of people in the Washington, D.C. area that have a connection to the DRC, and they would love to see this movie too. So why don't I just ask the filmmakers if they are willing to submit that movie to the Utopia Film Festival? So I reached out to Monica Carlson, the producer, and she said yes. And I was so excited when I got this answer. And that's where we are at now. So
wonderful.
A plus for youth, that's for sure.
Oh yes, I think it helps everybody.
Well, so films that make the world a better place. I think the Rumba Kings qualifies pretty well there. I mean, Rumba certainly had an impact in its time and continues to have an impact today. So, you know, I guess Alan, if we can just get the sort of the executive summary of how this film came about, your arriving in DRC. You've read some interviews, but you know, for listeners, you know, arriving in DRC and finding this music and how that came about, and then the making of the film as well. Just the brief executive summary, if you have it.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to say hello to everybody and thank you to the Utopia Film Festival team, to Claude and to the whole team for all the love towards the film. You know, we really appreciate it and we're super happy to be there. For the story, I arrived in Congo in 2007. Working for United Nations, for the United Nations mission to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And when I arrived, I didn't know much about Congolese Rumba. I learned about Congolese Rumba years later while a rock band that I had that was called the Wild Band. There was a Coast over there was another Peruvian, a friend of mine, and a lot of Congolese. We used to play Cream, a little of Jethro Tull, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I was singing there. I'm not a musician, you know. And it transformed somehow into a salsa orchestra of around 14 people. And it was just me again, my friend Meriton from Kosovo, my friend Oscar from Peru, and a lot of Congolese musicians. Some of them are playing it now in Brussels, like Rodriguez Gebangama or Polan Lukombo. And well, is being in touch with all these amazing young musicians from Congo that first it was very clear to me the talent, the musical talent that is in Congo on the young generations. It's amazing. It's like really like, you can't believe it. But on top of that, we always were complaining a little bit the quality of the amplification sound, you know. We used to have our own microphones. I used to have a box with 10 microphones, Shure SM57s, SM58s, and other condensers, because the sound wasn't good for us. We have our own speakers, our own mixer, and one day, one of the singers, he tells me like, Alan, we're always trying to improve the sound and improve, but you know that like maybe 25 years ago, this wasn't like that. Congo was the musical center of Africa. It was like we were the kings of music in Africa. So, do you know about that? I said, no. Do you know about Franco Luambo, his mighty, all-powerful OK Jazz? I said, no, I never heard about that. So he said, wait. And then days later, that week probably, he gave me a CD with music by Franco Luambo and the OK Jazz, by Gran Calais and the African Jazz, Dr. Nico and the African Fiesta. These are like the trilogy of bands of Congo, Only Tabule is missing. And also there was a little bit of Lokwa Kansa, this kind of new singer from Congo. And man, I fell in love with the music. Because for me, it was like coming back home because I'm from Peru. I grew up listening to El Gran Combo, Hector Lavoe, Rubén Blas, all that salsa music. And there was a little bit of that in this Congolese rumba. And there was also an electric guitar. And I'm from Peru, so cumbia in Peru. And cumbia has also an electric guitar that also plays a solo. So for me, it was very close to me. I connected very fast. And well, that was the beginning, Other things happened along the way of how I got in touch with the subject. But that was the beginning of the love story that you were calling a love letter. The beginning of the love story is right there with the music.
Wow.
Beautiful.
But that's a long way from loving that music. I mean, and by the way, thank you for showing me all my friends, all these people are kind of know them all personally from, I was at the Voice of America, had this radio show, and I had to, it's from the 1960s up to now. And I used to go around and they all used, Franco, for instance, had a big fight with your show because I wasn't meeting with him enough. But anyway, I tried to do a video like, for instance, and I went to the television station, the main television, and I got all the videos that they used to record these people. They are like a brick because they were stored in places that was just horrible. I mean, the whole tapes went in a block. And I'm looking at your thing, your video, your film, I mean, and I'm saying, how the heck did they do that? This is amazing, amazing. And the quality of the pictures, the sound, and everything. Wow, that's such. Explain to us how you managed to do this.
Well, in the film, there are two types of archive. You see, there are black and white, right? You're talking about the musical performances. So the music performances, you have black and white, and then you have this amazing kind of, for me, like a dream footage of Franco Luambo in the concert that on Zaire 74, a Rumble in the Jungle boxing match between Ali and Foreman, right? Where he is wearing a red shirt, So that's actually licensed from the copyright owner, which is related to the filmmaker who did this amazing documentary called We Were Kings. You remember that documentary, When We Were Kings, where they have also a little bit of Franco Luambo.
Yeah.
So we managed to touch with this company, and they sent us the whole concert of Franco Luambo with like 8 cameras. And we chose the best part. We said, Franco Luambo is a singer, a composer, and a guitar player, right? But this will be probably the best documentary will be on a big screen. So we need to present him first as a guitar player. So we look for the part where he really was shining playing guitar. And then we found those parts and we licensed these from this company. The other parts, all the black and white, that was more of a very complicated road. Some of those, So, for example, the Dr. Nico footage, where he's in a kind of a jamming with his brother, the show. They are each one with a car, they get close, they start jamming, and then Dr. Nico gets a little of groove, he turns to the audience, and he ends up dancing with Madiata, who's another Congolese famous singer. That we never found anything better than what was on the internet. So we knew how to license it. We actually licensed that officially. But even the people who licensed this, which is a Congolese institution, didn't have any copy. The only copy was on YouTube. So we downloaded 3 versions from YouTube, different sizes. We use a process of artificial intelligence, it's a software, to mix them so they could complement each other. And then we retouch frame by frame
Wow.
the whole Dr. Nico concert to delete the lines, those lines that appear there to clean some noise,
Wow, that's amazing.
So how much more of it is there out there then that you've done this process to? There's the whole performances that are.
Yeah, for Dr. Nico it's just that, right? From
Okay.
that concert, that we basically that. Then you have the other concert of Dr. Nico, which is he's playing a kitty kitty in a sort of a dance contest. You see the people with the numbers on the back. That we licensed from a TV station. I don't know how they made it. All the Franco concerts, black and white, and all the Grand Calais black and white, they went through the same process of restoration. The Franco concerts in black and white were like this size, very small, They were going to occupy just a little bit of the screen when we got them. So we managed to upscale them, with artificial intelligence software, and then we retouched them one by one. And then we also improved the sound because the sound was not good. And we knew that if the music film, music lover, I'm also an audiophile, it needs to sound good. Otherwise, it's pointless,
But there's no grain really. It's amazing how you did that. There's no grain on the film.
We left a little bit, and you'll see it on the big screen. Probably you'll see a little bit in the festival. There is a little bit of grain on the digital version. You don't see it much. Meaning, we are happy. We are really happy because if you know how we started, if you see where we started, you will be like, it's enough. It's enough.
How difficult was it for you to? Because I'm sure you were not speaking. I don't know whether you speak French, but I don't know if some of the dialogue was in the native language, and how were you able to get that and translate it into your work?
So I speak French, hopefully. I arrived to Congo without speaking much French, to be sincere. I knew a little bit enough to do administrative issues, right? But when I arrived to Congo, I couldn't tell a joke in French. I wasn't able to tell a joke, which is a test if you already handle the language, So after 3-4 years, basically after the band started and I started hanging out with these musicians, well, I basically started speaking more and more French. By the time the documentary had to take shape, and I was doing those interviews, I was understanding everything in French. Everything was super clear to me. I could ask questions in French, so there was a way to connect. There were a few interviews. Some of them are in the film, and some of like Paul Mwanga. Paul Mwanga is in they were in Gala. And story with the Paul Mwanga, since we're talking about this, is that soundbite of Paul Mwanga where he says this powerful and he's brave, he's very brave testimony about how he felt and his generation felt. We didn't say it until 2 years ago. Somehow, when we said that the soundbite of Paul Mwanga to be translated, we didn't say that part. We don't know, all of us, we don't know how that happened. And it's 2 years ago when we were kind of reviewing again all the Lingala soundbites to see if we already really exhaust everything. We found this part where and I was able to catch words there. And I said, well, I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds interesting, important. Send it to translation, and then it came back as a bomb, basically. It was so powerful that it stopped us on our tracks, and we said, this needs to be on the film. If it's on the film, it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
So I basically called Mandachewa, I called Muniania, some of the people on the film. I called my friends, also Congolese friends, and kind of trying to take a community vision we put this on the film or not, and if we put this on the trailer also or not. And we decided that yes, it has to be, for many reasons.
I mean, it's a crucial part of the story. You know, I found the notion of, you know, rumba, because nowadays people look back at rumba and everybody's buttoned up in the suit and tie and it's very classy and it doesn't feel very revolutionary. But in its time, because of like the things Paul Mwanga was saying, you know, in terms of, you know, just showing dignity, human dignity, and like, you know, just equal class to, you know, when they've been treated like horribly, like slaves and things like that. That was a revolutionary aesthetic, that whole buttoned up thing. It was like, we can do this even better than you, kind of a thing. So I don't know if you can speak to that in the film. I was also wondering about these performances that and the interview with Paul Mwanga and the guitarist. Were those, I mean, how often do these folks get to play out? It seemed like a special kind of a thing, like, you know, you're right, after in the alleyway or the couloir there, the woman comes up and gives him a big hug after the song and everything, and it's such a beautiful, like, you know, everybody's like, yeah, playing that music. Do they play that music? Is it common? Are they still playing, or was that sort of like bring the instruments out, you know, blow the dust off and play?
Yep. My God, that's great. So for the question, the first thing that we felt when we found the Paul Mwanga statement that was so strong, right? Basically, for the people who didn't watch the film, he's saying, I'm not going to make a spoiler, but he's saying somehow they made music to recover their dignity, right?
Yes.
So he says it in a strong way. But the first thing was, let's take a decision as a community. Let's take a group decision, right? Because I'm not Congolese. I love Congo. Maybe I'm Congolese by heart. Maybe, you know, I love Congo, but I'm not Congolese, so I wanted that decision to be a group decision. But beyond that, we needed to know if this somehow makes sense in the scenes that we already know about Congolese Rumba. And then for me, we thought about it, and for me, it became evident that every scene in the film that even had before was about pride. Mm-hmm. You see, when you see the interview with Sos or Petit Pierre, which are two survivors from the Table Ronde trip in 1960, that this election, this dream team of musicians travels to accompany the politicians of Congo in their independence. It's like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones traveling with their politicians. It's the big bands. Everything they're saying is pride. It's about pride. That's why they remember. So every little detail. When you listen to Jameco Longa talking about his story of the first time that is a legend, the first time.
I love that story. That was beautiful.
Congolese able to dance with a European lady. It's about pride, you know. So for me and for Manda and for Lester Johnston, it was clear that pride was always. So somehow Paul Mwanga just confirmed what was there already, you know. And then also you have a song like Atandele from Adulenga. It's a song that appeared even before Franco and before Calais, that is on the film. But it's a song that says everything will change. He almost got in prison for that song in the colonial times under Belgian authority. So, you know, the hints are there. Now, for your other question, I think, remember, Mathieu, he had a band called Elegance Jazz or African Elegance, where he used to play these old hits, right, from the classic era of Congolese Rumba. When I found him, he was playing just sometimes Givano, one of the best guitar players in the film, who does that amazing mi solo, you know, when his fingers going onto the guitar. He used to have a band. Actually, he's featured with his band playing one of his compositions. So yes, they play sometimes. It's not common. Most common music right now in Congo is Ndombolo, which is a very fast-paced version of this classic rumba with much more guitar and how do you call somebody screaming like say, don't say, no, 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 no. They call it the atalaku. It's like a kind of like a DJ talking over the song to encourage people to dance, you know. That's what sounds in Congo right now.
What I found extraordinary in that film, knowing Franco, Luambo Makiadi, and knowing him, and every time he would play, his eyes would really get onto in you, you know. And he was there, and he would look at me in this space, and he would play that seven, and you know, it was like you were caught by some kind of genie that would just, and he would go, and he had that, and you reproduced that so well in that film. It is so amazing. That's what I, wow.
So it fits with your memories.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow.
But you know, the other thing that I found so amazing is the fact that Dr. Nico came to my house 2 months before he's dead, and he said, "George, go tell the people that we are alive. Dr. Nico is alive. He's alive." And it was amazing. And when I watched this film, I think, God, what did I miss? What did I miss? You know, but not recording him and doing it. They were amazing people. And yeah, you're right. A friend of mine who was a Belgian first secretary at the time said to me, "No, George, these people, they suddenly turned to be amazing citizens. They took over Congo, Zaire, it wasn't Zaire yet, but they took over Congo like that, you know, and they kicked us out. They really kicked us out by playing their music, and it was amazing."
That's great. Wow. What's such a memory you have with this musician? That's so privileged. You know, it's very few people who met these musicians, huh? Wow.
I think about the story of Joseph Kabasele and these musicians who went to speak on the political platform. From your own direct experience and the people themselves, the heirs of that era, how important was that to them? How important was that to the music industry, the development of, you know, to feel like they had a part in the development of a new state? Was that part of it?
It was big. It was big. It was for the musicians that were there. You're talking about the trip, right? That Grand Calais,
Right.
Dr.
Yeah.
Nico, Petit Pierre, Brazos, and Vicky Longomba, Oye Seidi, all these stars make to Brussels accompany the politicians. Meaning, for all of them, it was somehow the event of their lives. You know, they remember every single detail, you know, of what happened there. Can you imagine if Petit Pierre was around 16, 17 years old? Can you imagine
Wow.
at that age playing for the independence of your country?
Yeah.
Like,
That's amazing.
That's huge.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then also now, Dr. was older, right? And Grand Calais too. But if you think about it from their perspective, they come from a place where there is oppression, right? The colonial oppression, right? They are. This
Right.
is 1960, so the winds of independence are already blowing in Leopoldville, in that Congo. But nevertheless, they arrive to a place in Europe for the first time where they are playing, and the Europeans are like, "Wow, this is amazing." You have to understand that for them is so refreshing, so empowering, you know. You have to see it from their perspective, and it's evident that it was super empowering. Now, for the people who was living in Leopoldville, it was also mind-blowing because suddenly they had this song that was a dancing song that was talking about independence, that was playing on the radio every day, every week. So that song also helped to promote, to broadcast the good news of independence. You know, the song Independence Cha-Cha.
But I also think that's the reason Congolese music became very popular in the rest of the continent. I think it was this connection to the freedom movement. Yeah, there was a dance element. There was, you know, the upbeatness, the guitar, the swing, and the beautiful voices are also very, very important. But I think for many Africans, this connection to a movement of freedom, I think Congolese musicians became heroes of sorts.
And they succeeded.
Right, they succeeded, exactly. They became heroes of sorts across the continent, and people welcomed that sound. People welcomed that energy because therein them or themselves was this need as well, and
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's true. I wrote an article with Manda Chewa for a release, like on the last month, a vinyl release on the Planet Ilunga label about the music of Grand Calais, and the article was called "The Other Heroes of the Ronde," because these musicians are true. They are the other heroes. It's not just the political heroes, but they are also heroes. They show the Europeans, that the Congolese culture already needed to be independent to find its path.
You know what one of the things that I really love is when you have Rumba, suddenly he appears. I almost cried, you know that? Because that guy, he's the one actually was the mastermind of bringing all these musicians and to say, I'll show you who we are and we'll bring it through music. That's amazing. It comes through in the film like, poof, amazing.
So do you have plans to continue the story into the taboulés and beyond?
The main reason to do, meaning I don't like sequels, but I will be kind of obliged to call it a sequel, because it will be the same topic. The main reason will be to tackle taboulé. Taboulé is too big. It's too big to ignore him. And the only reason he's not on this film is because his personal narrative, you see, the storyline of his life doesn't fit as perfect as Franco, Calais, and Nico in this, let's say, run towards independence. Taboulé somehow becomes more relevant after, on the 70s. And the film does a little glimpse into the 70s, where they are showing you how much Franco traveled, but it's not a deep dive. So that's the main reason. And the second reason is that just to work in the the musical copyrights of film has been super complex. It took us at least 2 years there are more than 4 songs. So in order for us to tackle taboulé music copyrights, we will need to really spend a year at least sorting out a lot of stuff. But yes, many of people have reached out to us telling us that we need to do a sequel with taboulé. And well, I want to include taboulé, Papa Wemba, Psycho Langa Langa, a little bit of Brequisqua Mangana and Orquest Bebe, and also the birth of La Sap, this beautiful movement, dressing with these amazing clothes as a sign of revelry also against extreme poverty. I put all that together. It's going to be a little tricky, but I'm going to try to put that together on a sequel,
Yay.
That's going to be tricky. So there's no way you could have gone through this process of making this movie without encountering what some might call a kind of a sellout of the musicians in the later years after independence to the dictators, the African dictators that came after the colonialists. I wonder what were your impressions of that, that feeling in general. Yeah.
I think that complex. His relationship with the artist, his relationship with Calais, with Franco, with Taboulé Rochereau is very complex. Franco, for example, even makes a song for Mobutu called Candida na Mobutu, which is a beautiful song that I can even dance, but he's praising Mobutu. And then you have to also see the bad side of Mobutu. It's huge, it's difficult, impossible to ignore. He's a dictator. He was a kleptocrat almost. It was a kleptocracy, if you want to say this. He basically took the money, broke all the businesses that were in Congo, took the ruins, and just started giving out money. But it was very complex. Why? Because Mobutu brings what is called l'authenticité, which is this kind of l'authenticité, this movement that asks or forces the Congolese to forget about this European colonial time and come back to the roots. So if you're called Alan Jose, well, forget about that Alan. Now choose a name that belongs to your land, right? And use that name. Don't dress with this European suit. Use a Congolese suit. And then don't play those Cuban rhythms so much. Use a little bit. But why don't you go to the national music of Congo? We have hundreds. So I am not saying that Mobutu did something good. I'm just saying that for musicians of that time, it was very hard to establish an opinion because as much as he was doing all these bad things, he forced them to look to their own roots.
Inside.
You know?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Diabolical, no doubt. Famous, my best kind of dictators.
Oh, but Mobutu had two faces. I mean, I must say.
Oh yeah, no question.
Having known him, yeah, it was something else. Jesus.
Yeah.
But also, you have, but just to throw something else there, when you have a dictator as powerful, you know, so powerful as Mobutu, it's very hard to really protest without endangering your life. And then you say, well, a lot of musicians endanger their life to protest. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But Mobutu was in power for more than 30 years, I think. So it's like a omniscient power. Everybody's listening to whatever you say. You know, it's not easy to create a revolution. And to be sincere, from my personal point of view, at least, the Congolese came out of a colonial era, right in the city. And Mobutu, just 5 years later, it's very hard to have the stamina to come out from a colonial time and then have a second stamina just right there to get out. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I agree with that. Very punishing colonial time. You're right. Yeah.
Every time I interviewed him, he would say, "Joe, the Belgians." And I say, "Wait a minute, the Belgians, it's not the curse. You are the one who's doing this. What have I done to you? I'm a Christian. The Belgians are the one." And I said, oh my God.
Yes, George has some sit-down interviews with Mobutu filmed, by the way, so y'all should connect on that. George has an archive of films that you two should connect on.
I think we have to do something with George. For the sake of the Rumba Kings, we need to talk about that.
Absolutely. So just to ask Claude,
can you talk about the festival in terms of when the screening will be, like the COVID precautions? I know that's important to people too.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, the date. I don't think we have mentioned the date yet. It's now I have to check it myself.
It's 20th and 21st, I think.
Thank you.
That's right.
Saturday and Sunday. And so the Rumba Kings is gonna show in the New Deal Cafe, which is right across from the old Greenbelt Theater. Some of the other movies will be shown in the old Greenbelt Theater, and some even in the City Council Hall. So we have to use whatever place is available.
Yeah.
Some are not available due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
We canceled the festival last year, but we wanted to do it this year. And of course, we're doing all the COVID-19 protections, social distancing, and limits to how many people can be at the same place at the same time. And people have to show proof of vaccination or a recent test. So
Great.
be safe.
So this is part of the Utopia Film Festival in Greenbelt, Maryland. We'll put ticket information up on the screen as well after, and so you can get tickets before they go, because they're gonna go.
The time.
Quickly want to say,
time?
You can quickly I wanted to mention, you can find information on our website. Very easy to remember. It's utopiafilmfestival.org. And the time, yes, it's at 7 p.m.
So is there like a booking process, because you have 2 days, 2 nights, so people can buy tickets for either night, correct? Yeah.
That's right. We sell our tickets through Film Freeway. And I just wanted to say, you can also come early and have dinner at the New Deal Cafe. So it's a nice place for that too.
Oh, that's smooth. Nice little smooth segue right there. Lovely. Hey, you're born for radio, Claude.
I'm not sure about that.
Thank you so much, both of you. Claude Aubert from the Utopia Film Festival in Greenbelt, Maryland, and Alan Brain. It still trips me out that is actually how that's pronounced, but okay. Alan Brain, the Scottish-Peruvian filmmaker from the Congo. That was brilliant speaking with you. Thank you so much for your film and for all the care that you and love that you put into the retouching of all the footage and the going and speaking and finding these folks and recording them. I know that was a massive labor of love. So thank you for your efforts there, and to everybody that did it, Monica Carlson and everybody involved in the production. Thank you for the Rumba Kings, and looking forward to seeing it on the big screen.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, Claude.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alex.
All right.